Hi, good evening, and welcome back to Cooking Live with Kristin. This is episode 6. I'm joined by my son Marlon, who will be answering any live questions or asking any live questions you might have so that I can answer them for you in real time as I'm cooking tonight. We are making homemade pesto sauce, and then I'm going to show you how to use it 3 different ways. We're going to put it on roasted salmon in the oven, which is super delicious. And I know I've been getting some requests for some healthy appetizers with the holidays right around the corner, so I'm going to adjust our salad to make it skewers of caprese salad on little tiny skewers so that you could have them for a salad or serve them as an appetizer. And we'll be using the pesto in a third way to make a bruschetta style crostini, which is a fancy way of saying toasted bread with some tomato salad and pesto sauce. If you have questions as I'm moving along tonight, please feel welcome to ask them the whole time I'm cooking, because I would be more than happy to answer your questions about any of the steps that I'm doing. There is a link in the video description so that you can follow the recipes that I'm using tonight. I've started the page now, and I will update it about 10 minutes after we're done with the live stream. I have my oven preheated to 450 degrees for the crostini and the salmon, and the first thing I need to do is get started on my pesto. I happened to find a great deal on basil this week, so I'm doing a double batch. So you'll notice that my quantities are a little different than the recipe, but that's just because I'm doing a double batch so that I can put some in the fridge. I'm starting with my food processor and adding my garlic first and adding it alone for 2 reasons. One, it's a great quick way to chop up the garlic, and I need it for both the tomato salad that we're going to be doing later, as well as the pesto. So once I pulse it, I'll remove some of it for the bruschetta. Okay, perfect. So I'm doing approximately 4 cloves of garlic for the double batch of pesto and 1 clove of garlic that I'm keeping separate for the bruschetta. And we'll work on that next. So I'm going to pull out about a teaspoon, which is what I'm guessing would be about the size of 1 clove. All right, so back to pesto. We're going to add 1 whole bunch of parsley and 2 cups of basil leaves. This is, again, a double batch because we love pesto sauce so much in our house, and we could eat it on anything, even by the spoonful, right?
Can I share the live with my friends and family?
Ooh, yes, please. I also forgot, we have to start toasting the pine nuts. So we're going to use pine nuts in this recipe. So we put the stove on a medium to medium high heat and get our pine nuts in that pan. They will not take long to toast. Pine nuts have a high fat content. It's a healthy fat, but it's still fat, and what that will do is make them burn quickly. So we're going to keep a really close eye on them, but I just turned the stove on, so it will take a minute. We're going to get our pesto in, or got our parsley and basil. The reason I add some parsley with the basil is simply because it cuts down on the cost. I think parsley's a little bit cheaper than basil, and it doesn't add a whole lot of flavor. It adds a lot of green and a little bit of the earthy parsley flavor, but it just spreads the pesto out so it makes a bigger quantity. We're also going to be zesting and juicing 2 lemons. Was there a question? Did I answer the question you asked?
What? Yeah.
I did?
She said, could you share it live?
Yes, please share it with your friends and family. We would love that. All right, so we're going to zest 2 lemons. I guess I could do it right into the bowl. I'm comfortable where I'm at, though. What?
Saying to you.
Yeah. Can you smell the lemon?
Yeah.
I love zesting lemons. I love the smell.
Yeah.
It's from the essential oil that's in the lemon skin. Did you know that?
No.
It's the oil that gives you that beautiful fragrance.
Interesting.
And if you were standing up close to me right now, you would see this tiny little spray of oil coming out from the pores of the lemon as I'm zesting it. You have to be really close to see that though. Okay, so we've got the zest of 2 lemons here, which will give us a nice bright flavor to our pesto. Okay, I can't smell them yet, but I can hear the pine nuts, so I'm going to check on them. Once they heat up, they will not take long to brown, and they're very easy to burn, so it would be ideal to stand here and watch them, but I'm going to try to multitask it and just come back as often as needed. Okay, so now we'll juice our 2 lemons. Let me grab a knife. Yeah.
That's a scary knife.
That's not that scary.
I just don't have the best luck with knives.
Well,
When it
it
comes
takes
to cooking.
experience. It takes experience. We need to go
Well,
over.
There goes your shirt.
We just need to go over knife skills more often, more frequently, and you just need to practice. That's it. Definitely gets easier. Want to just keep it slightly closed for a second until I've only got 2 more of these to squeeze.
There's only one little drop on the computer at least.
Okay. We've got the juice and zest of 2 lemons. Rinse my hands and check on the pine nuts again. Pine nuts can be an expensive ingredient for pesto sauce, so I find them in bulk at Costco. I find this to be way cheaper than buying them in the grocery store. And when I buy them in bulk, it's something that, because it's a sealed container, a resealable container, it's something I can keep in the freezer so it lasts a really long time. Otherwise, the smaller containers at the grocery store can be expensive. You can substitute pine nuts with walnuts, or you can omit the nuts altogether. It's a slightly less rich taste, but it's perfectly fine to omit them altogether. But traditional pesto is with pine nuts. Can you smell them?
Oh yeah.
You can smell the pine nuts already?
Yeah. I can already smell like a pesto kind of thing already.
Yeah. You can smell the basils.
Yeah.
Once I start tearing the leaves of the basil, you can smell those really well too.
Did that basil come from the plant or no?
Yes, in fact, the plants were on sale at the grocery store, so I bought a plant and picked off the leaves. It ended up being $3.99 for a plant that had tons of leaves, or it was $2 a container, and I would have needed 3 or 4 containers. So I found that plants being on sale was more cost effective this week.
Grabbing some water.
Okay, I have ice water right there if you want it.
Yeah, that's true. I'll grab mine. Sorry. So good in here.
It does. All right, so we've got a light golden brown color on our pine nuts. If you cook them too long, they will burn rather easily. No, not toasting them at all doesn't have nearly the same flavor. Whoops. Okay, so where are we at with ingredients? We got the lemon, we got the pine nuts, we got the lemon, the parsley, basil, the garlic. Where am I going? Okay, we can close this and pulse it again. I'm going to add cheese to it and olive oil, but I like to pulse this one more time before I add those ingredients. The cheese is already grated and the olive oil doesn't need much anyway, so I like to do this in steps. If you add the oil too soon, you'll end up pureeing the whole sauce to a degree that it ends up liquefying, and I like it to be a little more coarse than that.
Let it sit, like.
You want it to be a little more coarse.
Just go everywhere.
Okay, so again, this is a double batch, so I'm going to be adding twice as much cheese as I normally would. We're going to add a cup of cheese at this point. Marlon would prefer 3 cups of cheese at this point, but we'll try to keep it somewhat
Let's keep it to 1.
realistic.
Yeah.
You can always add cheese
Especially,
later.
yeah.
So I'll
Yeah,
add a cup
later
of
now.
cheese.
It's hard to, it's tempting.
That's grated Parmesan cheese. You could add shredded if that's what you had. You could shred it yourself. And it's all going to get grated anyways as we pulse it. Okay, so now I'm going to need a cup of olive oil. It would have been a half cup if I was doing a regular size, but again, I'm doing a double batch.
Looks good.
Oh, let's see. That's not going to go in very easily. I'm going to get it in a... I'm going to use one of my measuring cups that has a pour spout on it because I think it'll be easier for me to not make a mess.
Could you pour it from the top?
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm going to turn it on 1 and slowly pour this in.
I was
Okay.
waiting for that.
All right, let's see how, oh my gosh, it looks amazing. The color is so bright and green. Would you like to taste it? Notice I didn't add salt. That's because we added Parmesan cheese. I didn't think it was necessary, but we can definitely adjust the seasoning if necessary. After we taste, you want to just taste there?
Knock 'em
You're
over.
coming over, okay.
It's easier for you.
And remember, we're going to be reusing this sauce, so it's really important to not double dip our tasting spoons in there. Oh my goodness, that's delicious. Okay, so these go in the sink. I'm going to grab a new spoon. I have my salmon ready to go in the oven. The salmon is thawed, and I've patted it dry with paper towels. We're going to put it skin side down in the pan, because if I wanted to eat the skin, I would sometimes put the skin side up so that it gets crispy, but I'd prefer for it to kind of get stuck to the pan so that the fillet easily comes off. So we will put our salmon fillets in the pan, and I'm going to use a teaspoon. Let's see, how am I going to do this so I don't retouch them? Okay, so I'm going to take a teaspoon each and put it on the salmon, but notice I'm not touching the salmon because I don't want the salmon to contaminate the pesto sauce. So once I put a teaspoon on each fillet, now I'll use that spoon to spread it around. I remember the last time we cooked salmon, I told you that story about the last time that I filmed for Knit and Crochet Now at the studio in Cleveland, and I went out to dinner one night with the cast and crew and producers, and I had charred lemons. Well, we're gonna do that again. I think every time since then that I make salmon, I cut lemons in half and put them right in the roasting pan, and then squeeze them over the top of the salmon when it comes out of the oven. So I'm just going to cut 2 lemons in half, so it'll be 1/2 lemon per fillet. And just throw them in the pan, and then when we bring the fish, when the fish is ready to serve, we'll squeeze one over each, or even serve it on the plate for everybody to squeeze their own. I'm going to throw this in the oven. And at 450 degrees, we're going to check them after 12 minutes. Okay, on to what? What are we doing next? Oh, we're going to do crostini, because this needs to go in the oven as well. When I'm making crostini, I like to buy my bread a day ahead. You don't necessarily need super fresh bread for this because it toasts in the oven. You don't want it to be old, but I think buying it a day in advance is perfectly fine. Sometimes that can be difficult to do, or it's not practical to go to the store every day, and this is a good use for a day-old bread. I kind of botched what I was just trying to say, but you know what I mean. All right, that cutting board here is a little bit wet, so I'm going to grab a dry cutting board for the bread. I'm going to cut it on a bias. make sure I get on camera so you can see.
On the
So I'm gonna, on the bias. So
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
gonna cut straight up and down. I'm gonna cut on an angle,
We've done this before.
but then I'm gonna cut it on an angle this way too. So two
Yeah.
sets of angles.
We've had this before, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've done this for parties many times. But,
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
so by cutting it on both of those angles, you get a larger surface area of the bread. Look at how small this bread is, but look at how big those slices end up being. They're cut on both of those angles. So we cut on an angle from the top and then an angle from the side. And that gives us these beautiful slices that we'll put on our baking sheet. And we're going to smear them with a little bit of pesto sauce and then add some bruschetta. So what I do for bruschetta is I chop up some tomatoes really small, chop up some red onion really small, add a little bit, and well, we're going to put pesto down first, add some salt and pepper and then put it in the oven. Then when it, Parmesan cheese, and when it comes out of the oven, we'll drizzle a little bit of balsamic glaze over the top. Balsamic glaze is a type of balsamic vinegar that's been reduced down. You could do this yourself, but you can also buy it in this little jar or in this little bottle, right where you buy your regular vinegars at any grocery store, and it's already reduced down to the syrup.
So they can see it better.
Oh, sure. So it's just super duper easy to have on hand. It sits in the cupboard. You pull it out when you want to do a little drizzle effect. It's very fancy looking and packs quite a flavor punch.
I love it. Yeah.
Yes, me too.
Oh yeah, this is the one where you chop it up like really fine and
Yes.
then you put the, oh, that's so
Yes.
good.
The onion, the garlic, the tomato. If we didn't have homemade pesto, we could chop up some basil in there, but we have homemade pesto right now, so we're gonna take advantage of that. All right, got enough for our tray, so I'll move that off to the side. And so this is another dish that would be totally wonderful as an appetizer to take to a party for the holidays or to serve at your own party. And we're replacing our carb with this tonight. Normally I make rice or some other whole grain potato, sweet potato, that sort of thing, and we're splurging and making crostini as our, I thought I heard something, as our carb instead.
Did you hear a little sizzle thing?
Yeah, in my head I thought, oh, is that the pine nuts? Okay, so we'll come back now and smear a little bit of the pesto on each of these. Not even a teaspoon this time. We've got a lot going on the crostini. We don't need a lot of sauce. We're just doing this to make kind of a creamy bed for the vegetables to go on. If you put the tomatoes and onions down right away, they would soak into the bread, and this will kind of stop the bread from getting soaked into.
Somebody said, what did I miss?
Well, we started with homemade pesto sauce. Then we put it on roasted salmon, and we have that baking in the oven with charred half lemons. And now we're making bruschetta crostini for one of our sides. And then at the end, I'm going to make little mini caprese salad skewers, which could double as a beautiful party appetizer, or it will double as our salad tonight. Marlon, how much do you love caprese salad?
Oh, it's my life.
I mean, could you even tell which do you like better, homemade Caesar salad or homemade caprese?
Caprese.
Oh,
Do you
really?
Do you have a baking mat to toast the bread?
Yes, I have a baking mat underneath my cookie sheet right now. All of the gadgets and kitchen tools that I use can be found in my Amazon shop. It's amazon.com/shop/Kristin Omdahl, and I'll post links to all of the things that I used in the recipe page when I update that after we're done cooking tonight. Okay, so I took maybe a half teaspoon at most of the pesto sauce, and I smeared it on top of each of the slices of bread. So now we're going to put, in fact, I want to unplug this now. In order to get the food processor on the camera, I had to put an extension cord on the counter, and I don't want any liquid near that. So we're going to take that off because we don't need it anymore. Now we'll bring out our handy dandy little chopper. And last time we used this, I was showing you how to make cucumber salad, and we were using this larger cube. Tonight we're going to be chopping tomatoes and red onions in it, and I'm going to use the 1/4-inch dice instead. And wait till you see how easy it is to get a 1/4-inch dice with this gorgeous little chopper. We're going to start with 1/2 of a red onion. And yes, if you have excellent knife skills or you have the time, you could totally do this by hand, but wait till you see how perfectly and how quickly this little chopper does this. So I've got 1/2 of a red onion. I'm going to pop it in here in 4 pieces. Boom. Boom. Whoops. 3 and 4, and we're done. We've got our perfectly diced onion in the bottom there. Marlon, are there any questions, sweetheart?
No?
Okay. I see comments scrolling. All right, so we'll grab some of our tomatoes. We're using 1/2 of our tomatoes for the caprese salad skewers, and we're going to use the other 1/2 for the crostini. I did bring these out of the fridge an hour before we went live tonight because I wanted to bring them to room temperature. I find that tomatoes have a much better taste when they're at room temperature. I'm cutting them in 1/2 and tossing them right into the same mix with the onions. Putting them cut. Can this be seen on camera? Am I on camera tonight?
Yeah, definitely.
Yep, okay.
You just
Do
can't
you
see,
have any questions?
you can't see the salmon, but you can see the tomatoes.
It's not the salmon, it's
Yeah,
the bread, but
I
I picked it up to show it.
Oh. Yeah, I knew that. Would you have cut the tomatoes at all before tossing them in the chopper?
I'm cutting them in 1/2. If you were using larger tomatoes, you'd need to, but I'm cutting grape size or grape tomatoes, which are a version of cherry tomatoes. I'm cutting them in 1/2 before putting them in the chopper. The reason being is that when you're chopping things in a chopper like this, you're only cutting in 2 dimensions. You're cutting this way and that, or let's see, this way and this way, not this way. So think about it. If you were, let's give an example of, let's say you were putting a banana or a cucumber in there and you didn't cut it first and you put it in, you'd get these long pieces. Or if you did a potato, you'd get French fries. So in order to get a cube, you have to cut them close to the size you want, because it's 3 sizes that 3 equal sides to make a cube.
Did you spread butter on your bread before the pesto?
No, I just put pesto on it.
Nah, we don't need butter.
Pesto has olive oil and pine nuts and cheese in it already, so that's already going to be plenty of that kind, plenty of fat on it. All right, so we've got our tomatoes and onions here. We're going to add it to the garlic that we pulled out from earlier. We've got 1 teaspoon of garlic, or 1 clove, 1/2 of a red onion, and the tomatoes. I'm going to add some salt.
I'm gonna test if you'll put 1 whole tomato in there. Just show us to show them what it would look like if you didn't cut a 1/2 first.
You want to see what a whole one does
Yeah.
in there? Yeah, that's fine.
And then what tastes better, organic grape tomato or regular grape tomato?
I'm going to put a little bit of pesto sauce in here just to mix it around. Definitely not necessary. We have pesto down there, but I just wanted to get it kind of cohesive so it's a little saucy to start with. What's the matter? You're laughing at me?
No, there was
Laughing at me?
a comment that had to leave.
Oh, a deleted one?
Yep.
Oh, okay. One of our moderators is in action?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Shout out to Judy Coates, if that's how you say it.
Yeah, I say Cots. It could be Coates. I don't know.
Shout out.
Yeah, thanks, Judy.
No, you should.
Okay, so now I'm taking my chopped up garlic, tomato, and onion and placing it on the pesto smeared toast, or sliced bread, and we're gonna toss this. We'll put a little cheese on it after this, actually, and then we're gonna throw the whole thing in the oven. That bad, huh?
It's just so weird.
Well, if we've got a 17-year-old giggling, it must have been pretty juicy.
It's just so random. I mean, obviously I'm not gonna say it.
Marlon, they come to the crochet and knitting one too. It's, yeah. No, we don't give them attention. We don't give them attention at the
Yes,
podcast.
I did great with the pronunciation.
Oh, good. So I've been saying it wrong.
Ah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
now we know.
I'm always right.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Well, that's not too bad. I didn't go over too much. Okay, so for this batch, there we go. Got those ready. I have some shredded Parmesan cheese, and I just think it looks prettier on top, but you could definitely add grated cheese as well, or you could do shaved Parmesan cheese. It doesn't really matter. We're just getting a little cheese on there, and we're going to toss these in the oven. They'll take about 10 minutes, which may be a little bit more than
the mozzarella.
We're going to do that next.
Oh, we are. Okay.
How many minutes? Where are we at, honey?
I can't see from here.
Okay.
You want me to look?
So we've got these ready for the oven. And I think that was the timer for the salmon. So we're going to take a temperature gauge in here, see where we're at. These are probably done. Oh yeah, they're done. We're at 130 degrees. It's more than enough. So in a perfect world, I would have had this, balanced a little better, but we're going to need between 5 and 10 minutes for the crostini. Let's start with a 5-minute timer. And we'll work on our skewers for the caprese salad. I'm using mozzarella pearls, which is fresh mozzarella that's made into these tiny little pearls. And that with the grape tomatoes cut in half, I'm going to put on these little shish kebab sticks after I toss them in the pesto. And then once I have it all set out on the plate, I'll drizzle the balsamic glaze over the top. So they came in 2 sizes, but I think because of the size of these particular mozzarella pearls, I'm going to use the shorter one. So this is a 4-inch bamboo skewers. Okay, we'll start by putting our mozzarella in a bowl. I've got one of them going so far.
That salmon smells so good.
It does smell good. We'll let it rest there for a minute while we're putting everything else together. Okay, so the mozzarella balls are pretty stuck together when you pull them out of the package. So we're just gonna, it takes very little pressure. They're not super stuck together, just slightly stuck together. Tammy wants to be a taste tester along with you. Okay, so the mozzarella is ready for a little basil, or a little pesto.
What's up?
I'm gonna
God.
add some pesto. We'll do 2 tablespoons.
You need to keep that plate away from me.
Yeah, you just need to stay away from it until I have this plated, then you can have
I
it.
know.
I'll tell you what. You want 1 spoonful? Here, you can have 1 spoonful right now.
Let's go. Yes.
But don't put it back in the bowl because I gotta finish making it. All right, so I'm on the fence about whether or not I'm gonna cut these tomatoes in half or not. So let's try a skewer with.
Do you moisten the sticks before you?
We're not putting them in the oven, so we don't have to. If you were putting them in the oven or on the barbecue, then yes, you might want to do that.
Watch me take my bite over again. Let's see how much
Let's
of a
see.
fail that was.
Oh, these are so cute.
I destroyed that. That was funny.
Okay, if you were serving these at a party, how cute is that caprese skewer? Huh? Isn't that adorable? And we're still going to do the balsamic glaze over the top too. So I'll take another stick. So the pattern that I'm doing is, in fact, hold on a second. Let's take 1, 1, 1. We still need a spot for you to hang on to. So like if you were at a party, you would want to still be able to pick this up. So we got to leave a little bit on the end, on the flat end, the pointy end where we're putting everything on. You could go all the way down to the bottom on that end, but you want to leave a spot for people to pick this up off the tray. So the pattern is 1 cheese, 1 tomato, 1 cheese, 1 tomato, 1 cheese. And we'll put that on the plate. I'll move this a little further down now so you can see what I'm doing. Can you see from here, Marlon? Sweetie?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna make sure to want to keep a good distance for picking up with your finger. So I'm gonna hold my 2 fingers there while I slide the cheese up.
They're saying pull back a bit so you can see what you're doing. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll try it again. All right, I'm up for more feedback, so I'm always up for more feedback, you know that. Oh, I forgot to turn the lights on tonight.
Now we turn on?
I don't know, can everybody
that
see
lighting,
okay? I forgot lighting tonight.
Let's try it.
Yeah.
All 3 of them on?
Just turn the power cord on, power strip on.
Oh. Hey.
Whoa, that's really bright. Oh, it adjusted.
That lighting, huh?
Okay, so let's see can you see what kind of feedback that was? I'll keep these up.
Let us know what you thought of the new lighting.
Or the new position of holding the skewers. I'm holding about 1 inch back by pinching with my finger, which I need for putting this on here, but that's also important for having a place for your guests to be able to pick up their skewers. Thanks, Anna. Marlon is the best, I know.
I'm always right.
Did I set a timer for that? Oh, I did. You notice I could smell.
2, 1.
I could smell the.
Want to get it?
No, because I want to test it because I'm not sure that it's going to be done. Oh, my towel fell. Let me grab another towel. All right, oven mitt. Oh, these look so good.
Oh my.
Okay, so 5 minutes is all it took, so yay.
Jeez.
Can you smell them?
Jeez, that looks
Oh my goodness. So the bread is crusty, the cheese is melted, and the little bit of heat just gave a lot more fragrance to the tomatoes and the onions and the garlic. Be careful, this is really hot. So now all we have to do, well, we could plate it first. Let's plate it first. We'll get a nice plate going for, okay, I blew it on this one, hold on.
Oh, I'll take those.
All right, so let's plate those as well. Actually, we don't need to plate them. We're not doing appetizers, we're making dinner plates. So I will put the drizzle on there.
Take a bite since it's an appetizer.
Let's see, where are we at? Okay, I gotta put my oven mitt back on. This.
Once they cool down, can I try them since it's an appetizer?
Oh yes.
Yay.
Okay, so the balsamic glaze, it comes in this squeeze tube and it has a tiny little spout at the top. So what's great about it is that if you want to do just that fancy drizzle over the top,
And
see, it stays. Can you see that? That it just gave a nice little artistic drizzle over the top. And it adds this sweet, sour, rich vinegar taste to the top. So good. And if you were doing a party plate of these, I didn't get enough of them done yet, but you could also do that on here as well. You could put a little balsamic. See what it does? I'll show you on the white plate. See how beautiful it decorates the plate as well? Isn't it pretty? All right, are you ready for a plate?
Obviously.
Okay, so let's get this out of the way
it's
now.
done already?
Yeah, dinner's done.
Oh.
How many minutes are we?
I'm gonna look.
Where are we at? 34. Hey, that's not too shabby.
34? Yeah, it's not too shabby.
Not too shabby.
I like the lighting though. Lighting's fire. I think my Insta picks up on that.
Got 'em. Yeah, you should. I've got all the lighting for you.
So you're gonna squeeze the lemons on the salmon? too?
Yes, I am. Okay, let me get plates. Why don't you see if there's questions? You can read them right here while you're waiting for your plate.
No, there are no questions.
Okay, so because
Oh yeah. Never seen the balsamic glaze. Where'd you find it?
I bought it at the grocery store, same place where you buy all the other vinegars. It's, I guess, a newer-ish ingredient, but every grocery store that I've been to, including Walmart even, sells this where you buy vinegar. It's called balsamic glaze, and all it means is that somebody has done the job of reducing your balsamic vinegar. You could do it yourself on the stove, but we're trying to make homemade dinner in 30 minutes, or 30, 45 minutes, so it's just more practical to buy it. Remember we put the skin side down for the salmon? That's so that I could peel the salmon off. Oh, it's not going to tonight.
No?
Skin's on there, so you're gonna have to be careful
It's okay.
if you want it or don't want it.
I'll just take it. It's fine. It looks like
Yeah.
it comes off kind of easy.
It's probably because I use the non-stick thing instead of aluminum foil. When I do aluminum foil, it sticks to the foil, and we don't have it.
I call
we're
big
able
piece.
to. You're getting the bigger piece, yes. And there are extra pieces too. So we've got our charred lemon. Take the seeds out of there. So we've got our roasted lemon to put over the top. Get you a couple of crostini. There's more of everything, so.
Oh, I know.
And some caprese salad skewers.
Let's go.
So let me just show them your plate real quick. This is Marlon's first helping. So give it a taste and let us all know what you think. Oh, we get your fork.
I'm like scared.
Why?
It's gonna be too good. I can't.
Oh, whatever. Yeah? All right, I'm trying it with you.
It's so bad.
Hmm?
It's so good.
Mmm. The bread is toasted, but not too hard where it's hard to bite into. The onions and the tomatoes are still fresh. They're heated up, but they still have that fresh bite to them. The pesto tastes so delicious on there. You taste the cheese, you can taste the balsamic vinegar, so
Oh
you
my
get that
God.
salty brine too. But all the textures on the crostini is really delicious. So also notice how the pesto tastes different on each of these. The
Yeah.
pesto was cooked for a long time in the oven on
That's
the
what I was
salmon,
gonna say,
so it tastes different than what it tastes cooked for a short time on the crostini, and then the pesto is raw on the salad, so notice the differences as well.
Sorry, I love balsamic.
I forgot to squeeze lemon. By cooking the half lemons in the oven with the salmon, roasting it at the high temperature, you get a smokiness in the lemon juice that is so good. And because the pesto and the salmon are both rich flavors, the lemon brightens it all up as well. Did you try your caprese skewers yet?
I love how the tomato just bursts.
And you know what else? It bursts easier in your mouth because it's already been pierced with the skewer. It actually makes it easier to eat a whole
Should we do
cherry
like a
or
quick Q&A
grape.
while we're doing this? Remember they requested?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to actually look at the camera to see though.
I know. I'm just trying to multitask. You know, I'm not good at that with food.
Can you scoot up a little bit so I can see? I wish you guys were taste testing as well. What's your favorite part?
The bread. It's so like
Mine
it's
too.
just so good. Like I can't.
The bread has all the flavors of the salmon and the flavors of the caprese and more.
Yes, I do cook. I make the best shrimp scampi of all time, and I am going to do it on an episode one time. So I would stay tuned for that. I'm a professional taste tester. New job title. Producer.
It's a
Camp.
great job title.
Yeah.
So we have,
Is it salty or sweet? What'd you say? I'd say it's of both.
what is
Just in general, they're asking.
the dish? There,
It's
what-
the balsamic that gives it the sweet.
the balsamic has a small amount of sweetness to it. Everything else is not sweet in this dish. We haven't added any other sugar or honey or anything. Let's see how much sugar is in here. In 1 tablespoon of balsamic glaze, there are 3 grams of sugar. But we didn't even use a tablespoon of it throughout the entire meal, which include way more than 2 servings.
You also make a roasted red pepper pesto.
Yes.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yep, I've done that before. You can do roasted tomato as well, or sun-dried tomato. You can do pesto with all sorts of other flavors. You can do other sauces with herbs too. I mean, there's all sorts of things you can do with fresh herbs and making
Can I
sauce.
fix this up, or are these two still too hot?
No, they're fine to pick up.
Okay, cool.
Somebody wanted to see a whole tomato chopped in the chopper.
Oh yeah, that's right. Hopefully they're
Let's
still
not
in
remind
it.
us of that. Let me see if I can find the chopper. There it is. So it's more of a minor detail when doing grape tomatoes. This would be a bigger deal if we were using large tomatoes or larger vegetables in general.
Are you left-handed? I'm left-handed. She's right-handed, so yeah.
All right, so I'll put a whole one in here. Okay, we'll do 2. I'll do it on the other direction so you can see what the longer pieces would look like.
Let's look for questions.
So it's pretty minor with the grape tomatoes. The point I was making in chopping them first is that they would be much bigger if we were using larger tomatoes. But you can see these are quite a bit longer because they weren't cut in half first. So, I mean, they're still chopped pretty fine. But if you were using regular sized tomatoes, tomatoes, it would make a bigger difference.
Does cars now? Oh,
Does
man,
anybody
I
have
guess
any other questions?
Yeah.
I got food in my
Q&A.
teeth.
We got Q&A time
Mm-hmm.
before I start eating too much that I can't talk anymore.
Sherry calls them maters in Indiana.
Oh really?
Remember
Sounded-
Tom Mater in
You
your
sounded
cars?
Texan there for a second.
Joe's from Texas too.
Okay.
Remember Tom Mater? Or Mater, what was his name in Cars?
That's what I was just saying.
Oh, what I was trying to ask you.
Full mater. It looks so similar. It's creepy.
Thank
throw our
you.
rolls together? Yeah.
Thank you. Aw. All right, so as soon as this goes to recording, as soon as we end the live stream, YouTube will turn this into a video so you can watch it again. There's a link in the video description for a page on my website where I've listed the recipe for the pesto sauce so far. And as soon as we finish up here, I'm going to go back and update the recipe page to include the other things that we cooked tonight. That's fine. If you have any questions, please always feel welcome to leave them in the video description. Once this goes to the recorded video, I get notified of all those comments, so I'm able to answer. Yes, this is the salmon that I buy at Costco. I can show you the bag. No smell whatsoever. It comes in a bag of this kind of a bag. It's called the Kita salmon fillets, and then they come shrink or individually frozen in separate bags. So I thaw those separate bags. No smell whatsoever. It's wild caught. It ends up being a little over $6 a pound for wild caught salmon that has no smell to it. So I can't find a better deal than that in the whole town. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy evening to spend a few minutes with us. I hope you enjoyed seeing the recipes. Special thank you to Marlon for reading all the questions out loud for me and for taste testing everything. So is this a Marlon approved meal? I think so. He's pretty quiet. You know what that means. If you want to see more of Marlon, he has a YouTube channel. He's a music producer. His name is Seltzer, and I'll post a link in the video description below so you can check out his new music there as well. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful evening, and we will see you next time. Bye.